Hey everybody, what's up? I'm here with my, well, I guess you could say my predictions. Excuse me for a second while I go on the screen. Shut the door there. And I'm here with my predictions on this Sunday's Bragging Rights. Now, like I said, I haven't really watched WWE Raw for a while, SmackDown, but I've basically kept up long enough by reading spoilers and you know, just generally, you know, watching highlights here and there and hearing people review it, that I got a pretty good idea of what's going on and a pretty good idea of how the storyline's going to go. So, these are just my predictions on some of the matches that have been signed so far. Now, we have 5 matches. Don't be surprised if we get one more to make an even 6 during the weekend. But we do have 5 matches so far. And again, don't be surprised if we get a 6th match added during the weekend. But anyway, these are my predictions, and in a way, it's going to kind of follow the premise that I did last time when I did my Hell in a Cell and my Bound for Glory predictions. Basically, how I would book it, and basically as a fan, how I would like to see it happen. So, first of all, let's take a look at the Champion versus Champion match. Intercontinental Champion Dolph Ziggler versus U.S. Champion Daniel Bryan. Okay, Daniel Bryan is sort of, well, he's kind of new to the WWE scene. Yeah, he's been around since NXT Season 1, and yeah, he was so-called fired, if you will, afterwards. But Daniel Bryan's been around, well, hasn't been around the WWE landscape that much, and he needs to be proven that he's not just a jobber. You know, he needs to prove that he is indeed a legitimate wrestler, champion, and superstar, and entertainer. I mean, he proved that this past Monday when he danced with the Divas. So anyway, what happens here? Well, as a fan, I would like to see Daniel Bryan win and continue this momentum of being a strong competitor. Booking wise, I'd like to see Daniel Bryan win as well, because if you want to book some kind of a rift, if you will, if you want to continue this rift, if you will, between Vicky, Dolph, and then you add in Caitlyn, possibly down the line, then you're going to want to book Daniel Bryan as the winner to continue that rift, which is eventually down the line going to cost Dolph Ziggler the Intercontinental Championship. So, prediction-wise, as a fan, I would love to see Daniel Bryan win. Booking-wise, you have to have Daniel Bryan win, believe it or not, to continue this rift between Dolph, Vicky, and even Caitlyn that eventually, as I put it, cost Dolph the Intercontinental Championship down the line. That's how I would book. That's how I would predict it as a fan. And that's, as a fan, how I'd like to see it, and that's how I would book it if I was in charge of the pay-per-view. Alright, next match of the night apparently is going to be Layla versus Natalya. Well, that's what it says here. Layla versus Natalya, or Lay Cool, or whatever you want to call them. Either Layla or Michelle versus Natalya. Now, Lay Cool has had the championships for a long time. First it went to Layla, then they became the unified champions courtesy of Michelle, and now they're co-champions again. So how does this play out? Well, as a fan, I would love to see Natalya win via submission and prove that she's ready to bring that championship back. As a fan, I'd like to see Natalya win because finally all her hard work and everything would pay off. But booking wise, I'd have to say I'd have to go with Natalya. That's right, and here's why. Everybody says, you know, even those at the PWR show, everybody says you want to keep the title on the heel, or put a title on a heel, so that way the face will always keep chasing them. You don't always want the heels chasing the face. Well, here's what I say to that. Here's what I say to that. What better way for a face to legitimately get over as a champion than to have the heels crying and whining and bitching and complaining of, and acting like spoiled little brats. That's, if you will, saying, "Oh, she didn't do it right. She beat me. Not fair." How would you? What better way to do it like that? Have them throwing tension. That's how I would book it. Book Natalya to win so you could finally get Layla to finally show that they have legitimately been dumbed down to the point that they will cry, whine, bitch, and complain like spoiled little brats. To the point that they will take that anger and stop beating down not just on Natalya but on other divas until Beth Phoenix comes back, and then have Natalya defend the title, probably not at Survivor Series because we know we're going to have a Divas elimination match, but possibly down the line, let's say at TLC, maybe even on a Raw or SmackDown, if you want to, but preferably, let's say TLC, have her defend it in a 4-way, first ever, because this is the only way it's going to work, 4-way women's divas, or should I say 4-way divas ladder match. Natalya, Beth, Layla, Michelle. That's how I would book it. That's how I would book it. Have Natalya win, dumb down Layla to the point that they're crying like spoiled little brats, throwing tantrums, attacking Natalya, attacking any diva associated with her, just bitching and complaining. Have Beth come back, have Beth be part of Natalya's team, and then at TLC have a 4-way ladder match for the Divas title. Because by doing that, booking wise, it'll bring prestige to a championship people say shouldn't even be around. And it would bring legitimacy back to a division that people are saying is dying and it's on its last legs. That's how I would book it. Now, for the next match, Kane versus The Undertaker. Well, Kane versus The Undertaker, buried alive. A lot of people have their own way of booking this match. Some have said they would like to see The Undertaker lose, take some time off, come back at Survivor Series or TLC or Royal Rumble and challenge Kane once again. But then again, but as a fan and as a booker, this may seem like it's crazy, but this is going to be a third match I do this. But as a fan, I'd love to see The Undertaker win to finally, go by that old cliche of third time's a charm and finally getting that revenge on his brother, burying him alive, and teaching him a lesson. And booking wise, I'd like to see The Undertaker win as well. But then again, there's 2 ways to book this match. One way, or actually 3 ways. One is you can have Kane beat The Undertaker, bury him alive, have Undertaker take another month or 2 hiatus. Right? 2, you can have The Undertaker beat Kane, and then someone from the SmackDown team at Bragging Rights comes out and challenges Undertaker, and I'll tell you who that could be, you'll probably be surprised, may not be, for the title while he's still in a weakened state. Or 3, do something completely unexpected. Here's what would happen. Have Kane drop Undertaker into the hole, into the burial hole that they're going to have, into the grave, and just when Kane is probably about to signal for the dumping, have Paul Bearer, believe it or not, hit Kane in the back of the urn, have Kane fall down on top of his brother, and have them both buried. Why? Well, here's one way of saying it. First of all, we wouldn't have a legitimate winner, it'd still keep the title on Kane. 2, booking it in that way, you could have Paul Bearer come out and say, hey, basically come out and explain that the reason he did that is to get those 2 to wake up and realize that they shouldn't be fighting each other, they should be working with each other, and that it shouldn't matter who has the world title as long as it stays on the dark side. Right? That's the way. That's a third possibility of how it could happen, and it would bring intrigue, because then you'd have both Kane and Undertaker realize, why are we fighting? Something like that. But that's a third estimate. But booking wise, those are three options, but booking wise I would go with the second one, because again, it opens the door for somebody on Team SmackDown to challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship against a weakened Undertaker. And even though maybe Undertaker would have the title for about a month or so, at least he would have the championship back, but then he could pass it on to someone that can go, someone that can wrestle. Okay? Now, so that's how I would do it booking wise. Like I said, there's three different booking options. But prediction wise, as a fan, I would like to see Undertaker win. Booking wise, I would go with the second option because it opens the door. And who does it open the door for? Well, that's where we go into our next match, which is Team Raw versus Team SmackDown. Now, here's a rundown of who's on what. Team Raw has, excuse me for a second, let me check my time here. Okay, I got about 3 more minutes. Okay, Team Raw has The Miz as their captain, R-Truth, John Morrison, Santino Marella, Sheamus, CM Punk, and Ezekiel Jackson. Now Team SmackDown has on their side of things Big Show as captain, Rey Mysterio, Jack Swagger, Alberto Del Rio, Edge, Tyler Rex, and Kofi Kingston, and Hornswoggle as their mascot. Now, who will win this match? Well, I'll explain that when I come back with part 2.